Welcome to Headphone News, International Edition for Friday, November 29, 2024.
FTC investigates Microsoft for antitrust violations. The Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, has opened an antitrust investigation into Microsoft. This inquiry will look into whether Microsoft has breached antitrust laws in its cloud services, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity products. A key concern for the FTC is how Microsoft bundles its cloud offerings with its Office and security tools. This move comes as FTC Chair Lina Khan is expected to step down soon. The results of this investigation could significantly impact not just Microsoft, but the entire technology sector in the United States.
Bank of Japan adjusts policy amid debt concerns. The Bank of Japan is starting to move away from its long-held low interest rate policy. This shift is putting pressure on the Japanese government to rethink how to fund its significant spending plans. Prime Minister Ishiba's administration intends to allocate 13.9 trillion yen, which is about $92 billion, to assist citizens with rising living costs. The government is also facing calls for permanent tax breaks, which could cut tax revenue by up to 4 trillion yen, or around $26.5 billion. Japan's total government debt is currently at 1,100 trillion yen, the largest among advanced economies. As interest rates rise, borrowing costs for the government may increase. This situation underscores the challenges Japan faces in managing its economy and fiscal policy.
South Korea cuts interest rates amid economic concerns. On November 28, 2024, the Bank of Korea announced a surprise interest rate cut, lowering the rate to 3.00%. This decision comes as South Korea's economy faces challenges, including slow growth and trade risks associated with a potential second term for Trump in the United States. The central bank aims to stimulate the economy with this move. The growth forecast for 2024 has also been revised down to 2.2%. Following the announcement, Treasury bond futures rose, while the South Korean won weakened against other currencies. Economic challenges include the possibility of higher tariffs, especially on exports to China, South Korea's largest trading partner. The government is considering additional measures to support local industries, particularly the semiconductor sector, which may encounter unfavorable policies under the new U.S. administration.
Telefonica Germany and AWS collaborate on quantum technologies. Telefonica Germany has started a pilot project with Amazon Web Services, or AWS, to test quantum technologies in its mobile network. This project aims to find the best locations for mobile towers and improve network security using quantum encryption. Telefonica plans to move 1 million 5G customers to AWS cloud services soon, with plans to transition another million customers in the next 6 months. The company hopes to migrate a total of 3 to 4 million customers to AWS over the next 12 to 18 months. This partnership reflects a growing trend among technology companies to use quantum mechanics for advancements in telecommunications, leading to faster and more secure communication.
China warns U.S. over chip export restrictions. On November 28, 2024, China issued a warning about taking necessary actions to protect its companies if the United States escalates restrictions on chip exports. Reports suggest that the Biden administration may add about 200 Chinese chip companies to a trade blacklist, blocking U.S. suppliers from shipping to them. A spokesperson for China's Commerce Ministry criticized these potential measures, saying they could disrupt global trade and harm cooperation between the two nations. The situation is tense, especially with President-elect Trump planning to impose a 10% tariff on all imports from China. These developments underscore the critical role of semiconductors and technology in the ongoing trade conflict.
Palestinian president names interim successor. On November 28, 2024, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas announced that Rahai Fatou will serve as his interim successor. This decision comes in response to concerns about leadership stability in Palestine. Abbas, in office since 2005, is facing health issues and growing public dissatisfaction, with a recent poll showing that 89% of Palestinians in the West Bank want him to resign. Fatou will take on the role of interim president for up to 90 days while preparations for elections are made. This announcement highlights the critical need for a smooth transition in Palestinian leadership.
Update on Chagos Island's sovereignty and military base lease. The British government is optimistic about finalizing a deal regarding the Chagos Islands in the Indian Ocean. This agreement aims to transfer sovereignty of the islands to Mauritius while allowing the UK and the US to keep a military base on Diego Garcia for 99 years. Following recent elections, new Prime Minister Ramgoolam has criticized the deal as a sellout. Concerns have also been raised by US officials, including Senator Rubio, who warned that giving up control could pose a threat to U.S. security interests in the region. The situation is evolving as diplomatic discussions continue.
M-KOPA's growth and financial inclusion. M-KOPA, a fintech company based in London, is on track to surpass $400 million in annual revenue by the end of 2024. This company provides pay-as-you-go asset financing to 5 million underbanked individuals across sub-Saharan Africa. M-KOPA offers smartphones and other essential products through daily micropayments, enabling customers to build credit histories over time. Despite facing tough economic conditions, M-KOPA has reached profitability in countries like Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, and Ghana, with South Africa emerging as its fastest-growing market. The company's success is fueled by a direct sales force that has grown to over 30,000 agents, making it the largest in the region. These agents are key to selling and distributing products while helping customers set up payment plans. M-KOPA has also entered smartphone assembly, launching the largest assembly plant in sub-Saharan Africa in Nairobi, which has led to the sale of more than 1.5 million M-KOPA X series smartphones. Customers can make daily payments ranging from 50 cents to 60 cents, and M-KOPA claims that customers save about 30% of their daily income when purchasing electric bikes through its financing options. The company has deployed a total of $1.5 billion in credit, supported by significant investments from institutions like Sumitomo and Standard Bank. As M-KOPA continues to expand its reach and product offerings, the impact on financial inclusion in Africa is substantial. The company's model not only provides access to vital products but also empowers individuals to engage in the digital economy, contributing to economic growth in the region.
AstraZeneca's Enhertu drug added to China's health insurance list. AstraZeneca's breast cancer drug Enhertu will be added to China's state health insurance starting January 1, 2025. This move aims to increase access for patients, particularly those with HER2-positive breast cancer. The average price of newly included drugs is expected to drop by about 63%, making treatments more affordable. This announcement comes after the recent detainment of Lian Wang, AstraZeneca's president in China, raising concerns about the company's future in the region. The inclusion of Enhertu is part of a larger effort to improve healthcare access in a country with a population of around 1.4 billion.
North Korean hackers target cryptocurrency. North Korean hackers have stolen billions in cryptocurrency by disguising themselves as venture capitalists, recruiters, and IT workers. Recent findings from a conference in Washington, D.C., show that these hackers create fake identities to infiltrate companies worldwide. They take advantage of remote work trends that arose during the COVID-19 pandemic. The stolen funds are used to support North Korea's nuclear weapons program while avoiding international sanctions. Experts warn that these cyber threats pose significant risks to national security and businesses. Companies are encouraged to enhance their hiring processes to defend against these attacks.
Court case over mining project in Yukon. A major court case is underway in Yukon, Canada, concerning a proposed mining exploration project in the Peel watershed. The Yukon government claims that the Yukon Environmental and Socio-Economic Assessment Board, known as YESAB, made a mistake by recommending against the project put forward by Silver 47, a mining company. The government aims to overturn this recommendation and push for a reassessment of the project. In contrast, YESAB, along with 2 First Nations and the Attorney General of Canada, stands by the recommendation, highlighting concerns about the project's impact on wildlife and the well-being of local communities. This case underscores the ongoing struggle between economic development and environmental protection in the region.
Britain commits $2.5 billion to World Bank Fund. On November 28, 2024, Britain announced a pledge of £1.98 billion, which is about $2.5 billion, to the International Development Association Fund of the World Bank. This investment will help the poorest countries by funding projects that promote economic growth and reduce poverty. The announcement comes just before a pledging conference set for December 5–6 in Seoul, South Korea. This commitment highlights the British government's renewed focus on addressing global challenges and providing support to nations in need.
BC Ferries plans major fare increase. BC Ferries is set to increase fares by 30% by 2028 to manage rising operating and capital costs. CEO Jimenez highlighted that inflation and growing demand for ferry services in British Columbia are key factors driving this decision. The cost of constructing new vessels has risen by 40% since 2020. Currently, the standard fare for a walk-on passenger traveling between Vancouver and Victoria is $19 which is about $14 For a vehicle and passenger, the fare is $99 or roughly $73.54 BC Ferries is working with the provincial government to create a sustainable funding model to tackle these challenges. This fare increase could significantly affect daily commuters and local businesses that depend on ferry traffic.
Dr. Martens reports strong holiday sales. Dr. Martens, the famous British footwear brand, shared encouraging news for the holiday shopping season. Sales in the United States have started off strong, resulting in a 13% rise in share value. Despite a pre-tax loss of £28.7 million, the company managed to reduce its debt by 27% and cut inventory by £69.1 million. The holiday shopping season is vital, making up 40% of annual sales. CEO Wilson noted strong demand for new products like Chelsea boots and biker boots. Dr. Martens expects to save about £25 million this year, partly through job cuts. The company remains cautious about future revenue but is focused on improving overall performance.
France's stance on ICC warrant for Putin. On November 28, 2024, France faced scrutiny over its position on an arrest warrant issued by the International Criminal Court for Russian President Vladimir Putin. This scrutiny follows similar warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and others related to alleged war crimes during the Gaza conflict. French officials stressed the need for accountability for all who commit crimes, but they also recognized the complexity of legal immunity under international law, which can lead to different interpretations among countries. The International Criminal Court has accused Putin of unlawfully deporting hundreds of children from Ukraine. France's response remains uncertain, raising questions about its commitment to legal obligations amid ongoing geopolitical tensions.
Montreal food banks seek increased funding. Food banks in Montreal, Canada, are calling for more funding to address the growing issue of food insecurity. In a recent press conference, Tasha Lackman, the executive director of the Depot Community Food Center, shared that over 15% of the city's population is affected by food insecurity. The demand for food assistance has tripled in the past 3 years. Each year, food banks distribute more than 20,000 food baskets, but they are facing significant resource challenges. Currently, the Depot Community Food Center receives only $150,000 annually, which falls short of the $160 million needed to meet the rising demand. Due to this lack of funding, food banks have had to reduce the size of food baskets and put individuals on waiting lists. Lachman stressed the urgent need for increased funding to help those in need.
Germany invests in semiconductor industry. Germany is set to invest around €2 billion, approximately $2.11 billion United States dollars, to boost its semiconductor industry. This funding aims to enhance local production and decrease dependence on Asian suppliers. The Economy Ministry has called on semiconductor companies to apply for these subsidies, with the announcement made in mid-November 2024. This initiative aligns with the European Chips Act, which encourages the growth of advanced chip manufacturing in Europe. The objective is to strengthen the capabilities of the microelectronics ecosystem and ensure that production meets the latest technological standards.
Australia bans social media for minors under 16. Australia has passed a new law that bans children under 16 from using social media platforms. This legislation is designed to improve the safety of young users online. Prime Minister Albanese emphasized that social media companies must take responsibility for protecting children. Companies that do not comply with the law could face fines of up to $49.5 million Australian dollars, which is about $31.6 million US dollars. A trial for enforcing this law will start in January 2025, with full implementation planned for 1 year later. This action addresses growing concerns about cyberbullying and the risks of harmful content on digital platforms.
Venezuela passes strict law against supporters of sanctions. On November 28, 2024, Venezuela's National Assembly voted unanimously to approve the Simón Bolívar Liberator Law. This law imposes harsh penalties on anyone who supports international sanctions against the country, including potential bans from holding public office for up to 60 years. It also allows for the prosecution of individuals who are not in the country. This decision follows a contested presidential election in July 2024, where President Maduro was declared the winner amid allegations of fraud. The new law raises serious concerns about freedom of speech and media in Venezuela, as it could lead to the closure of outlets that oppose the government.
Impact of proposed U.S. tariffs on Quebec. U.S. President-elect Trump has announced plans for a 25% tariff on all Canadian and Mexican imports. Quebec, a province in Canada, sends about 75% of its exports to the United States. This proposed tariff could increase costs for Canadian goods and lead to higher prices for consumers in the U.S. Quebec's economy heavily depends on trade with the U.S., exporting nearly twice as much as it imports. This situation may disrupt economic activities in Quebec and could strain the overall relationship between Canada and the United States. Concerns are rising about the economic impact of these tariffs, as they may prompt retaliatory measures from Canada and further complicate trade relations.
Ukraine raises taxes to fund defense efforts. On November 28, 2024, President Zelensky signed a law to increase taxes in Ukraine to support defense against the ongoing Russian invasion. The law raises personal income tax from 1.5% to 5% and introduces new taxes for small businesses. It also increases taxes on banks and other financial institutions. These changes aim to generate around 140 billion hryvnias, approximately $3.78 billion United States dollars. The government plans to use this funding to sustain military spending, which is crucial for Ukraine's defense strategy. The new tax measures will take effect on December 1, 2024, as the country continues to face significant economic challenges due to the war.
Impact of proposed ban on fish farms in British Columbia. A report from the BC Salmon Farmers Association highlights that a proposed ban on open-net fish farms in British Columbia could cost taxpayers around 9 billion Canadian dollars, which is about $6.67 billion US dollars. While the ban seeks to protect wild salmon, it may result in the loss of over 4,500 jobs and reduce annual income for Indigenous communities by 133.6 million Canadian dollars, or roughly 100 million US dollars. The federal government plans to postpone the ban until 2029 to facilitate a transition to new farming practices. The ongoing discussion focuses on finding a balance between environmental concerns and the economic stability of local communities.
Eglinton Crosstown LRT update. The Eglinton Crosstown Light Rail Transit project in Toronto, Ontario, is experiencing delays due to software design flaws affecting train operations. Metrolinx, the agency overseeing the project, anticipates starting a revenue service demonstration in early 2025. A safety risk was identified in the signaling system, leading to 8 software updates to resolve various issues. Construction began in 2011, and the project aims to improve public transit with a 19-kilometer line that includes 25 stations. Testing and commissioning are ongoing, with safety as a top priority. The project has faced numerous challenges, including legal disputes and delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Chad ends defense cooperation agreement with France. Chad's government has officially ended its defense cooperation agreement with France. This decision was announced on November 28, 2024, and aims to assert Chad's sovereignty after 66 years of independence. The agreement, last revised in 2019, allowed for around 1,000 French troops to remain stationed in Chad. Now, Chad seeks to redefine its military partnerships, particularly as it strengthens ties with Russia. This shift could affect security in the Sahel region, where Chad has been a key player in the fight against jihadist groups.
New documentary on Sudbury's environmental recovery. A new documentary called Planting Hope, a regreening story has premiered at Science North in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. The film explores the environmental damage caused by the mining industry in Sudbury and highlights the collaboration between local communities, Indigenous groups, and mining companies to restore the land. It emphasizes the important contributions of Indigenous communities in these efforts. The documentary will be available in English, French, and Anishinaabe, an Indigenous language. Public screenings will start on Friday at Dynamic Earth, another site operated by Science North. This film aims to raise awareness about environmental issues and encourage discussions on sustainability.
Conservatives oppose GST holiday in Canada. On November 28, 2024, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre announced that his party would oppose the Liberal government's proposed goods and services tax holiday. Poilievre criticized the plan, calling it irresponsible and inflationary. The GST holiday is designed to help Canadians facing rising costs by temporarily removing the tax on certain goods and services from December 14 until after Valentine's Day. The estimated cost to the government is around $1.6 billion Canadian dollars. Poilievre suggested alternative measures, including eliminating the carbon tax. The New Democratic Party is expected to support the GST holiday bill, which will be voted on soon.
Competition Bureau sues Google over advertising practices. The Competition Bureau of Canada has launched a lawsuit against Google, claiming the company engaged in anti-competitive practices within its online advertising business. The Bureau alleges that Google unlawfully linked its advertising tools to maintain market dominance. This conduct is said to have stifled competition, raised advertising costs, and lowered revenues for publishers. The Bureau seeks to compel Google to divest its publisher ad server, known as DFP, and its ad exchange, called AdX. Additionally, the Bureau demands a monetary penalty equal to 3 times the benefits Google gained from these practices or 3% of the company's global revenue. Dan Taylor, Google's vice president of global ads, argues that the Bureau's actions ignore the existing choices available to advertisers and publishers. Google intends to challenge these allegations in court.
Ontario government considers buying back Highway 407. The Ontario government is looking into the possibility of buying back Highway 407, a major tolled highway in the Greater Toronto Area. Transportation Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria announced that talks have started with the current operators of the highway. The goal is to ease traffic congestion and make travel more affordable for residents. Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy mentioned that financial details are still being reviewed. Opposition NDP leader Marit Stiles proposed making Highway 407 toll-free for commercial truck drivers to help reduce traffic on Highway 401. Highway 407 was sold in 1999 for about 3.1 billion Canadian dollars, which is roughly 2.3 billion US dollars. The province still owns part of the highway, which has lower toll rates than the private section.
Iceland's upcoming election and EU membership debate. Iceland will hold a snap election on November 30, 2024. Recent polls show that around 45% of voters favor joining the European Union, while 35% are against it. Economic issues, particularly the rising cost of living, have played a significant role in changing public opinion. Prime Minister Benediktsson dissolved parliament in October due to conflicts within the coalition. The Reform Party and the Social Democratic Alliance are currently leading in the polls and may push for a referendum on EU membership if they win a majority. This election could greatly influence Iceland's future ties with the European Union.
Cuba faces energy crisis with new regulations. Cuba has implemented new regulations to tackle a serious energy crisis. The government is urging businesses to produce more electricity from renewable sources and to reduce air conditioning usage. A recent decree mandates that major energy consumers generate at least 50% of their electricity from renewables during daylight hours within 3 years. If businesses cannot install solar panels, they must buy renewable energy from the government. The regulations also limit air conditioning in non-technological offices to a maximum of 24 degrees Celsius, 75.2 degrees Fahrenheit. These measures follow widespread blackouts that left millions without power in October and November. The government blames the crisis on U.S. sanctions and ongoing economic difficulties. Businesses that fail to comply could face fines of up to 15,000 Cuban pesos, which is about 45 US dollars. That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's headphone news. News summary brought to you by AI.